A good evening and welcome to Newswatch, tonight's edition here on Hope TV. Thank you for joining us. My name is Melissa Odour as we bring you news that made headlines today. On the sign language is Boniface Mureithi. Newswatch begins now. Human rights activists have staged protests outside the Tanzanian High Commission in Nairobi to demand for the release of fellow activist Boniface Mwangi. Mwangi's whereabouts remain unknown after he reportedly was arrested by Tanzanian authorities in a hotel in Dar es Salaam together with Ugandan lawyer Agatha Atuhaire. They were in Tanzania to observe the ongoing court proceedings of opposition leader Tundu Lissu. While demanding for the release of the two, the activists The activists have reiterated that both the governments of Kenya and Tanzania must respect the rule of law and release them. A statement signed by a group of activists led by Police Reforms Working Group said the incommunicado detention of the two was alarming amid reports that the two had been denied access to legal representation and communication.
So for his rights to be violated in this way, it is completely unfair. He fights for people all over the world. So it's not fair that they are holding him, whatever they are holding him for. It's not fair, it's not right. They need to release him and send him home.
We wonder what kind of a government is this that does not inform its diplomatic offices and headquarters and branches around Africa what is happening.
And we are telling Mudavadi, if anything happens to Boniface Mwangi, we, his friends, the family, and Kenyans in general, will hold you, Mudavadi, personally.
President William Ruto has held an engagement with grassroots leaders from Machakos, Makueni, and Kitui counties, where they resolved to expedite development projects in the region. Speaking during the meeting at State House in Nairobi, the president said tough choices he has been forced to make to improve the country's economy have been bearing fruit despite opposition. He stated that the country will only transform when leaders are willing to make difficult but right decisions to address the destiny of the people. And the president has urged the leaders to build synergy and marshal resources for investments that will stimulate the growth of the country's economy.
Kazi yangu ya kwanza nilipofika hapa ofisini, nikasema I will not be the president that will allow Kenya to default on its obligations, financial obligations. And I must do what it takes to make sure that Kenya does not. Na ndio sababu nikakaza mshipi. Kwa sababu kama singefanya hivyo, nchi ingeingia kwenye cliff. So nikasema ile mambo ya namna hii, sijui subsidy ya nini, sijui subsidy ya unga, sijui subsidy ya mafuta, sijui nini, project hii, nikasema kwanza wacha kwanza tupunguze mambo ya kukopa madeni, tupunguze mambo ya expenditure. Nikakata budget ya nchi by 300 billion, nikasema irudi chini. Unaelewana? Na ndio sababu hiyo tukawa na wakati mgumu, but it was necessary, and I want to thank God that today we are reaping the benefits of the sacrifices that we made. Hii inchi ni inchi ambayo itakuwa inchi mojawapo ya maana sana duniani. This is going to be a great nation. I am persuaded, I know, and it is possible. Mahali tulikuwa, mahali tulipo, mahali tunaenda, kwa mapenzi ya Mungu, nchi hii itabadilika.
Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka has raised concern over growing economic injustices and the shrinking democratic space in the country. Speaking during the burial of his uncle Mzee David Mburu Mairu in Mwingi, Kitui County, Kalonzo said the Ukambani region had been marginalized despite being taxpayers like other Kenyans. He cautioned that the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC must not be weaponized to settle political scores and criticized the recent recruitment of the IEBC commissioners, terming the process illegitimate. Kalonzo has meanwhile stated that he will be in the ballot to challenge President William Ruto in the 2027 general elections. Addressing mourners, Machakos Governor Vivian Ndeti also criticized the Teachers Service Commission for scrapping hardship allowances for teachers. She urged the TSC to reverse the decision, emphasizing the need to safeguard the welfare of both teachers and learners.
Teachers are parents. Walimu ni wazazi wale wakubwa sana. Na mimi nashangaa ati wanaambiwa watolewe hardship allowance. Sasa walimu watatolewa hardship allowance aje? Kuna mahali kwingine hata ukiangalia mpaka huku tumefika leo. Hao walimu wanatoka kwao wanakuja huku. Ukiangalia vile maisha yako saa hii, ukitolea mwalimu hardship allowance, huyo mwalimu ataishi aje? Nawaambia kina senator wako hapa, waheshimiwa wale wako hapa, mkienda huko kwa bunge, tafadhali muambie hiyo maneno yao wawache, because sasa tunasumbua walimu, tunasumbua watoto, tunasumbua kila mtu. Hii dunia itaisha bwana. Lazima tuchunge. Na leo yetu ni watoto wetu na walimu wetu.
We are part of this country. We are taxpayers. Tunalipa ushuru. Kwa hivyo mengine ambao yamefanyika huku Sekuru, first under Jubilee, and I later discovered it was not my friend Uhuru, it was his colleague Ruto who said no. Ati kwa sababu Kalonzo alisimama na Raila wakati wa CORD, wakati wa NASA. Ikasemekana watu wa Sekuru lazima waumizwe. Economic enslavement. Economic injustice. Tunalipa ushuru. Angaliani East. Ukombozi wa Kenya hii, I'm now saying prophetically, as I bury my uncle, utatoka Eastern Gate. Utatoka Eastern Gate. And I agree with you, Governor Avenya, what you have said today. It is no longer a secret that William Ruto atapambana na Kalonzo Musyoka kwa ballot, and he will go home.
Speaker of the Senate, Emerson Kingi, has notified the Senate of a vacancy following the expulsion of nominated Senator Gloria Oroba from the UDA party. While announcing the vacancy, Kingi says a Gazette notice has now declared Oroba's seat vacant as of the 25th of May 2025. However, Oroba, who had moved to court to hold her expulsion from the UDA party, has gotten a temporary reprieve after Justice Lawrence Mugambi issued orders halting the UDA disciplinary committee's decision pending the hearing and determination of the suit the nominated senator had filed. The UDA party had announced that it had expelled Oroba following her attendance at former Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i's homecoming event.
The Secretary General of the United Democratic Alliance, UDA, party wrote to the Speaker of the Senate, notifying the Speaker of the Senate that nominated Senator Gloria Oroba has been expelled from the party. By the same letter, the Secretary General of UDA further notified the Speaker of the Senate that the said nominated senator ceased to be a UDA nominee to the Senate. In the same letter, the Secretary General also requested the Speaker of the Senate to issue a declaration of a vacancy of the seat being held by Senator Gloria Oroba.
And Bungoma County has witnessed increasing cases of gender-based violence, with stakeholders now calling for more effort towards eradicating the vice. A section of residents who turned up to give their views to the task force probing the vice and femicide cases in the country have called for tougher laws to deter perpetrators. Bungoma County Deputy Governor Jennifer Mbatiani, on her part, has called for concerted efforts by all players to ensure emerging cases are highlighted. Task Force Committee member Lina Kilimo, on her part, assured that all cases will be handled expeditiously in their report as the task force gets down to work to ensure gender-based violence and femicide cases in Kenya are completely eradicated.
Leo tulitokelezea katika mjadala huu ambao ulikuwa unaendelea na task force ambayo ile president alikuwa ametengeneza, na sababu kabisa ya sisi kuja kutokelezea hapa ni kwa sababu kuna maneno fulani tulitaka tuyatilie nguvu ili yaweze kutendewa. Tunataka kwamba mauaji ya wamama ni mingi sana, lakini hakuna mambo ambayo inafanyikana, cases zinapotea, na cases pia hakuna watu wanashikilia maanani. So tulikuwa tunataka ya kwamba kesi ya kwanza tunataka tufomiwe court ya femicide cases hapa Kenya. Pili, tulikuwa tunataka hapa Bungoma hatuna safe spaces, wamama wanapigwa na wana end up kuuliwa kwa sababu wengine hawezi rudi nyumbani, wengine ni widows walinyang'anywa land, lakini tukitafuta safe space ya kuwapeleka hatuna.
Ya wamama na watoto wasichana. Si tumefurahia kwa kuparticipate siku ya leo, na tumeona kwamba tumepewa hiyo nafasi ya kuparticipate, na mambo mengi yameongelewa, FGM imeongelewa, defilement zimeongelewa, physical, aina zote za dhuluma zenye huwa tunapitia zimeweza kufanya nini kuongelewa.
Ni nini haya mambo yanaendelea? Kwa nini tunajaribu kusuluhisha haya maneno lakini yangali yanaendelea? So hiyo ndio kiini na hiyo ndio kitu ambayo hii committee inajaribu kwenda round kutafuta ili wapate kujua ni nini haswa indakana tufanye ama ni nini hatujafanya vile inatakikana.
Mambo ya child labor, watoto wanapatiwa kwenda kuuza hawking among the truck drivers. So in this hawking in the process, tunasikia tu msichana amepotea kwa barabara, kumbe ameshaingia kwa truck tayari. Watoto wanazaliwa yenye hawajui baba yao ni nani. So hiyo cases bado ziko hapa.
To Uganda, now the parliament there has passed an amended law that permits military courts to try civilians, prompting protests from the opposition, who said the move violates a Supreme Court ruling in January that banned such trials. The practice has long been criticized by opposition politicians and rights campaigners, who accuse the government of using martial courts to silence opponents, a claim it has denied. Dolly Murigimbovi tells us more.
Uganda's parliament has passed an amendment law that will now allow military courts to try civilians, as is currently the case against opposition leader Kizza Besigye in a treason case. The procedure, which has been in place for the past 2 decades, has long been criticized by opposition politicians and human rights activists who accuse government of using military court to silence opponents. In a January ruling, Uganda's Supreme Court banned civil and military trials, saying the court lacked the legal authority to handle criminal cases fairly and impartially. Despite that ruling, lawmakers moved ahead with the legislation which permits civilians to be tried in military courts. Uganda's parliament said the law has been passed with the country's army chief, Muhoozi Kainerugaba, President Museveni's son, praising the Speaker of Parliament and government lawmakers for passing the bill, saying they had proven themselves to be fearless patriots. According to Army spokesperson Chris Magezi, the law will control criminals, prevent the formation of political militia that seeks to undermine democratic processes and ensure national security.
Who voluntarily acquires a firearm which is a preserve of the armed forces, illegally, without taking advantage of the window in the law for a civilian to acquire a private arm legally, and proceeds to commit an offense, that particular civilian will be culpable for trial under the prescribed exceptional circumstances in the UPDF Amendment Bill if passed into law.
The next step is now for President Yoweri Museveni to sign the ruling into law. Uganda has a history of utilizing military court for prosecuting opposition politicians and critics of the government. This practice raises concern regarding the fairness and transparency of such trials, as military court often operate under different standards and civil and judicial systems. For instance, in 2018, prominent opposition leader Bobi Wine was charged in a military court with illegal possession of firearms. However, these charges were later dropped. Additionally, Kizza Besigye, a veteran opposition politician who has consistently challenged President Yoweri Museveni in various elections, faced legal troubles as well. Last year, he was arrested here in Kenya and returned to Uganda to face a military tribunal. Human rights organizations and observers have strongly criticized such actions, arguing that these measures are part of a broader strategy to suppress and maintain political control. Dolly Murigimbuvi for Hope TV.
A short break. We'll be back with the day's business and sports.
Hello there, and big welcome to Sitam Buruburu, a church that will be hosting our 18th anniversary and also dedication of a sanctuary, a 4,000-seater sanctuary. This Sunday, May 25, beginning from 9 to 1 p.m. Sitam Buruburu is located in Eastlands in Buruburu, Phase 5. Karibuni sana. Let's celebrate what the Lord has done for Sitam Buruburu 18th anniversary and also sanctuary dedication this Sunday, May 25, 9 in the morning. Karibuni. God bless you.
Hope TV is where you look and live, with an excellent selection of the best Christian programming consisting of local and international content of inspirational stories, talk shows, Bible commentary, youth, health shows, children entertainment, contemporary gospel music, extended times of worship, live broadcast, news, movies, drama, Christian ministry programs, and so much more. Hope TV is another quality service from Christ is the Answer Ministries, with over 45% of authentic and credible local content every week. Hope TV is a sister station to Hope FM, Kenya's leading Christian radio station, with footprints across the country. Tune in to Hope TV, where you look and live.
Thank you for tuning in to Hope TV, your go-to channel for hope, inspiration, education, and wholesome entertainment. At Hope TV, we are committed to knowing God and making Him known through powerful media content. We truly value you and are dedicated to serving you better. For feedback, inquiries, or complaints, reach out via WhatsApp or SMS on 0708 222 323. Email us at customerexperience@hopefm.org. Hope TV, look and live.
Back with the day's business. Now, the government has suspended the registration of new SACCOs for 3 months until the 5-member committee of experts completes its review of the SACCO Societies Act 2008. Making the announcement, the Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Cooperatives and Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development, Wycliffe Oparanya, said a newly constituted 5-member committee of experts will now be primarily tasked with reviewing the Sacco Societies Act, which the government feels is getting outdated. The new board will manage the Kenya Union of Savings and Credit Cooperatives, KUSCO, and has now been inaugurated to serve for 2 years, while a special team of experts will review outdated laws governing the SACCOs. The board will also oversee assets recovery while also overseeing KUSCO's transition into a national cooperative federation. CS Oparanya reiterated that the twin reforms were part of a wider strategy to foolproof the country's cooperative movement amid recent controversies. Family Bank Group has reported a 15.4% increase in profit before tax to 1.5 billion shillings for the first 3 months of 2025, up from 1.3 billion shillings recorded last year. The bank has attributed the performance to sustained growth in interest income, a strong balance sheet, and prudent cost management. Announcing the results during the investor briefing forum, Family Bank CEO Nancy Njau credited the strong first quarter results to the bank's commitment to building on the achievements of the previous strategy, which ended in the year 2024, while at the same time responding to the evolving needs of their customers. Meanwhile, customer deposits grew by 19.8% to 132.3 billion shillings, supported by the bank's branch optimization strategy, while operating expenses increased by 41.5%, primarily driven by a 59.6% rise in loan loss provisions and moderate growth of 10.9% in staff costs.
You look at year on year, our deposits, which is the money that we get so that we are able to fund our initiatives and as well as we do to grow our assets. We have a deposit of 132.2 billion, which is a growth of 20% year on year. It is not a mean achievement, so we can appreciate that growth. Our net loans and advances have also grown by 10% from 87.4 billion to 96.2 billion. And remember, this is coming at the backdrop where we have seen subdued lending. Last year, I think there was a very huge concern. But I want to tell you that as Family Bank, we never stopped lending to our customers. And that is why you're seeing this kind of growth. Our shareholders' funds have grown up with 37% from 17.8 billion to 24.4 billion. Our total assets year on year have grown by 19% from 145.9 billion last year, same period, to 174 billion. Again, not a mean achievement.
Still on quarter one results, KCB Group PLC has posted a profit after tax of 16.53 billion shillings for the first quarter of the year ending March 2025, compared to 16.48 billion shillings reported in a similar period last year, with notable growth in key financial metrics. Total revenues rose 2% to 49.4 billion shillings, while the group's balance sheet closed the period at 2.03 trillion shillings from 1.99 trillion shillings on the back of a stable loan portfolio. Commenting on the results, KCB Group Chief Executive Officer Paul Russo said the profit before tax contribution by the subsidiaries outside KCB Bank Kenya improved to 32%, resulting from the group's focus on deepening regional scale. He said during the quarter, the group was resilient, supported by new business lines, deepening of digital channels, and innovative customer value propositions. And Safaricom has unveiled an improved credit solution for businesses to now expand to micro, small and medium businesses under the initiative. Unveiled today, the businesses will have access to credit through an overdraft facility, Fuliza Biashara, and a term loan, Tasi Till, a business credit that offers short-term credit. Through Fuliza Biashara, Lipa na M-Pesa merchants can now draw multiple overdrafts from a minimum of 1,000 shillings to 400,000 shillings based on their assigned limit and repay their overdraft flexibly when there is an inflow on the till to allow business continuity.
Today we unveil a revamped M-Pesa business credit propositions, as Esther has said, that seeks to empower micro, small and medium-sized enterprises by giving them access to credit. And I know that we generally have spoken about small, medium and large enterprises, but actually micro are starting to overtake those enterprises. Pochi this year grew 80%, 80%, from a club for from about 600 to 1.1 million Pochi users, active Pochi users, which says when you see acceleration in either usage or people joining, you know that the product is actually beneficial. And that is just being able to separate your personal wallet from a business wallet, which means that when we add all these other products, which we are going to be talking to this morning, it will make a big difference.
MSMEs are a critical part of our economy today. We have in excess of 7 million businesses that exist in our economy today that are small, medium-sized businesses. And what we're looking to do is to ensure that we have given them solutions. Similar to what we've done on the consumer side, where we have over 35 million customers, we want to be able to say that we have over 5 million businesses working with us. So through these credit propositions that we're launching today, we want to give more choice, we want to give more access, we want to give more convenience.
Sports Now Athletics Kenya has issued a final reminder to all athletes anticipating participation at the Athletics Kenya trials for selection to represent the country during the World Athletics Championships in Tokyo, Japan. In a notice, AK says, as per the World Athletics anti-doping rules, all athletes to be selected to represent Kenya in Tokyo this year are required to have completed their first no notice out of competition anti-doping tests by the strict deadline of this Saturday, May the 24th, 2025. AK says the mandatory testing is a crucial requirement under the World Athletics anti-doping rules, and any Kenyan athlete whose first no notice out of competition test is conducted after Saturday will be deemed ineligible for selection to Team Kenya for the World Championships in Tokyo. The coastal city of Mombasa is set to play host to the 11th leg of the NCBA Golf Series this Saturday, the 24th of May. At least 150 golfers are expected to take part in the tournament as they compete for a chance to secure a spot in the series grand finale later this year. The golfers will be competing for their chance to secure a spot to play in the tournament's finals, with winners emerging in the overall men's gross winner, overall lady gross winner, Division 2 men and lady winner, Division 3 overall winner and junior winner. The Nyali event follows the recently concluded 10th leg of the series, which was held at the Kakamega Sports Club this past weekend. Meanwhile, the NCBA US Kids Golf Spring Local Tour is set to hold its season finale on Sunday, the 25th of May at Muthaiga Golf Club. The tournament is expected to attract at least 200 junior golfers aged between 5 and 18 who will compete in age-specific categories. The event is organized in partnership with US Kids Golf and the Junior Golf Foundation Kenya, with support from the NCBA Bank. NCBA Group Managing Director John Gashora said the support for junior golf is part of its long-term commitment to nurturing the next generation of talent in the region. And that's how we wrap up News Watch tonight. Thank you for your company throughout the newscast. On behalf of the production crew that made this possible, my name is Melissa Odour. On the sign language has been Boniface Muredi. Have a good night.